Hello friends, today we'll be taking a look at the autosomal DNA results, predicted phenotype traits, and GD match results of an Neolithic individual from Kabardino-Balkaria right here in Russia, from Nalchik. It's a very interesting individual in terms of his autosomal DNA, because if you look at his results with GD match and with my trait predictor, but mostly with GED match because it's a lot more reliable. If you look at his results with GED match, you will see that he's quite atypical for. It's definitely not what you would expect an Neolithic person from this region to score with any of the calculators. Now, in terms of what he scores, let's get into it, right? So we're gonna start with Eurogene's K36, and as you can see instantly, that's a score that's really, really weird. I mean, it's just so difficult to understand. 30.7% North Caucasian is easy to understand. 15.18% South Central Asian, and that's once again easy to understand. West Caucasian also is sort of easy to understand, but then he's scoring 10.77% Finno-Scandian, which is absolutely impossible to understand how this kind of European component made its way into the Caucasus, into Kabardino-Balkaria in the Neolithic. It's really I don't really understand it at all. And with the model, with the oracle, he's getting modeled as a mixture of Tabasaran plus Komi, Tabasaran plus Tatar, Tabasaran plus Polish, Tabasaran plus Belarusian. So there is clearly a lot of a shift towards Europe. And you could maybe say that it is because this individual has some kind of Eastern hunter-gatherer or European hunter-gatherer admixture. But let me show you something else. If you look at his results with MDLP World K11E, which is one of my favorite calculators, actually, you can see that he's scoring mostly Caucasus components, 39% EHG, which is a Caucasus component here. It's not Eastern Hunter-Gatherer, it's Caucasus. So he's mostly Caucasus. He is scoring a little bit of European Hunter-Gatherer as well, 22.4% WHG, which very interesting that it's a person from the Neolithic, from Kabardino-Balkaria, that's scoring so much European Hunter-Gatherer admixture. It's really impressive. But he's actually also scoring 12% Neolithic, and that's a Neolithic farmer component. So he's got both European hunter-gatherer and Anatolian Neolithic farmer admixture. How he is from the Neolithic, from the Copper Age, and he's got this kind of an admixture, how he's got both European and farmer admixture, it is beyond me, because it looks like the result of it looks like what you would see an Iranic person scoring. Now let's show you the ethnic calculator results with my own trait predictor. So this estimation was done on the basis of 243 SNPs, and with this estimation, this individual is closest to pre-Ptolemaic mummy from Egypt, followed by Natufian, followed by Levant Neolithic from Tel Kordu in Turkey, followed by BMAC, followed by Berber. So it's quite Middle Eastern. Actually, with my trait predictor, it seems that this individual is a lot more southern than with GED match. A lot more southern than reality, I should say, because it's really a person from the Northern Caucasus. But if you look at my trait predictor, it looks like they're from the Levant. They're actually getting modeled as a mixture of Berber plus Chimeric mercenary from the Caucasus, which once again shows you the shift towards North Africa and the Middle East in general. There is Tel Kordu Neolithic plus Chalcolithic, plus Berber. So a mixture of Eastern Anatolian Chalcolithic plus Berber. There's Berber plus BMAC. There's Berber plus Algerian. There's actually Volga Kai, Iron Age plus Tafaralt, which really goes to show you how southern Tafaralt is. Tafaralt is extremely southern with my calculator. So yeah, that's kind of what we're seeing. This individual is definitely quite southern shifted relative to reality with my trait predictor. But that's as good as you can expect a estimation based on 243 SNPs. But anyway, in terms of his Y-DNA, because it's a guy, his Y-DNA is actually R1b, which is really interesting. I don't have any theories on how he could get this lineage. I don't know. But it is R1b. His mitochondrial lineage is T2C. Okay, very interesting. I remember T2 being a Middle Eastern lineage. And in terms of his noshacot results, what he might look like, let's start with that. So for noshacot results, we're going to see the closest ethnicities, the closest, I guess, appearances to him. By the way, this appearance in the second appearance, it looks like the corded phenotype. If you look up human phenotypes dot something, I think it's .net. you will find a corded phenotype. So I actually changed it a little bit. You might not be able to see it, but I changed the phenotype a little bit, and it's actually got brown eyes, and it's got darkish, not really, but it's got darker hair in this morph than in the original. So I actually changed the pigmentation a little bit, and there's multiple versions of this corded phenotype with different eye colors, different hair colors, different hair textures even. So yeah, this is not the blue-eyed version. This is the brown-eyed version that's relatively close to this sample. This phenotype right here is sort of the Volgid phenotype, but I did not attach the ethnic. There is not so much ethnic connotations to it because it's just sort of a West Eurasian type with snub nose and dark pigmentation, stuff like that, right? I didn't attach it to a particular ethnicity, so you can be any ethnicity. You can be English and score this as the closest phenotype with the trait predictor. And then third place comes this. Very interesting. This is once again an example of my morphs, me doing my morphs. I had a lot of fun creating these different morphs for the phenotypes. And for the mixed mode oracle, there's actually a mixed mode oracle that models people as a mixture of two different things. The closest model is this plus this, which I guess is kind of realistic for somebody from the Caucasus. There's a lot of people in the Caucasus who look like the top or the bottom here. The second closest model is this plus this, which I guess is also sort of plausible. The third model is this plus this is the furthest the third furthest model, the third closest, excuse me, the third closest model. Now this is already, we are getting into the territory of something that's unlikely. Somebody who's this light. There is no people with this kind of pigmentation in the Caucasus, nor are there any people with this kind of pigmentation and traits as on the bottom in the Caucasus. But you can see that this individual sort of has a Eurasian look, sort of a mixture of European and East Eurasian facial traits, which is kind of interesting. In terms of the pigmentation, strictly talking about pigmentation, it looks like their eye color is brown or hazel. It is unfortunately, there is not a lot of relevant data in this file. There is not much to talk about in terms of the eye color, but we can sort of determine from the data we do have, we can determine that this individual probably has some kind of a darker eye color. Probably not blue. It could be darkest brown, but it's probably not blue. It could be blue with an amber center or green, but it's most likely hazel or brown. And we're gonna get into the SNPs that contributed to this score, that are the reason this individual is scoring like this. There is not a lot actually to talk about in terms of the SNPs. In terms of the hair color, estimate the hair color is most likely light brown, although dark blonde or dark brown is also possible. Light blonde is also not out of the picture completely, but most likely this individual doesn't have light blonde hair. Most likely it's some shade of dark blonde to dark brown. Probably not red hair, probably not black hair. That's all we can determine from the data that's present in the file, and this file is quite small. There is not much data in it. For skin color, most likely this individual has white skin. Once again, olive or Mediterranean is possible. Palest is also possible. Most likely this individual has got white skin. And for hair texture, most likely this person has got straight or wavy or curly hair. Actually, straight is 36, wavy is 32, curly is 27. The only thing we can say conclusively is that this person does not have kinky hair. That's quite conclusive. Now, in terms of the coloring related variants, this is what I'm talking about. This is why this is so difficult to classify this individual. Look at the blue eye haplotypes. This person does not have any genotypes for any of the relevant variations for blue eye haplotypes. No BH3 genotype, no BH2, no BH1, and no BH4. So how do you determine what this person's color, hair color, and eye color is when these are the most important variations for determining hair color and eye color, and he doesn't have any genotypes for any of them? Well, what you do is you use imputation. You use, for example, these genotypes. There's a couple genotypes here, or you use this genotype. The value of this genotype is a lot more in my trait predictor, and the way it calculates the score. The value of this genotype is a lot higher. And here you can see there's 0 light color variance. And this is actually very predictive of BEH1 as well. So because of this genotype, because of not having any light color variance in here, this person is actually scoring quite dark in terms of the eye color, and darker than they could be in terms of the hair color, because it also contributes to hair color score. So because of this genotype, this individual is scoring darker eye colors, such as hazel or brown. However, there's also this genotype, which is closely linked to this one, and here he's got two light color variants, and this also contributes. There's a lot of parts that contribute to the score, basically, and you can only get an accurate picture if you get all of them together. And for example, he's got one light color variant here in ASIP, which would contribute to olive or intermediate skin tone. For Eurasian standards, probably a little bit darker eyes and hair. He's got this genotype in SLC 45A2, which contributes to lighter pigmentation of eyes, hair, and skin. This is a big part of what led up to him scoring 28% likelihood of dark blonde hair. A big part of it. No light color variance in this variation of IRF4, which doesn't play that big of a role, and also probably lowered his chance of red hair a little bit. He's got two light color variants in this variation of Keto G, which definitely increased his score for light pigmentation of skin and eyes and hair a little bit as well. For TIRP1, he's got two light color variants in all the relevant variations. This also played a part in his scoring so light for the hair color. This played a big part. But there is unfortunately just not that much information in this file to make an accurate guess of what he looked like. So the best guess is really this. The best guess is this. You can see some other guesses. Let me show you how YSEC phenotype predictor would handle this situation. It would be a lot different. Not in a good way. Yeah, look at that. So that's how YSEC handles this case. Yep. I mean, look at that. Come on. When there isn't that much data in the file, you end up having wonky results. But for me, wonky results is maybe getting not such a precise prediction. For YSEC, wonky results is this right here. 95% likelihood of blue eyes, completely deranged. 92% likelihood of light hair shade, blonde hair, just completely deranged prediction. You cannot. What I'm saying is you cannot use YSEC for anything. It is not usable outside of commercial DNA files where you have every single bit of information present. Even then, it's not that good. But with files that are not complete in coverage, it is completely unusable. So we're gonna move on to polygenic risk scores and what this individual scores for the monogenic traits. So let's look at the polygenic risk scores. It looks like he's got let me spread that out, a below average score for schizophrenia, a slightly below average score for type 2 diabetes, a slightly above average score for Alzheimer's, actually a pretty significantly high score for Alzheimer's. So we're going to discuss the Alzheimer's section a little bit later. It looks like he's got a slightly below average score for multiple sclerosis. 0 risk variance for breast cancer out of 6, really good. 0 risk variance for testicular cancer out of 4, once again, really good. Unfortunately, I think none of those variations that he's got genotyped are going to be in the three most important variants for the three most important variations for testicular cancer. I don't think that's going to be there. 0 risk variance for celiac disease out of 2, really good. Nothing was found for GSS, and 2 risk variance for Crohn's out of 12, all right. Nothing was found for Riefenstein's, and 0 for risk variance for Parkinson's out of 2. Once again, not a lot of stuff is found here. As you can see, it's a pretty small file. Not a lot of relevant information is here. For mental health results, it looks like he's got TT in this variation of MAOA, which leads to lower activity of the MAOA enzyme. This is a Warrior genotype in MAOA. Extremely European genotype to have. Basically, he's got higher dopamine levels and advantages in attention and motivation tasks, disadvantages in stress resiliency. Very European phenotype and very European genotype. It looks like he's got a genotype in Profenecin Pro, which means 2 no-go learner variants that they reduce Profenecin Pro, significant reduction in the number of dopamine D2 receptor sites in the brain, and a reduction in the risk of schizophrenia. So this is another very European genotype that leads to a decrease in the number of dopamine D2 receptor sites in the brain. Then he's got this genotype in DRD2 in TOC1. He's got a genotype in TOC1, so he's got 2 A alleles in TOC1. Really, really unfortunate. Greatly reduced number of dopamine D2 receptor sites in the brain and increased likelihood of alcoholism, Parkinson's, ADHD, and various other illnesses. So in this case, just this genotype alone reduces the number of dopamine D2 receptor sites in his brain by like 40%. It's a big decrease. And in this case, it's very possible that this person had ADHD. Very possible that they had maybe alcoholism. Parkinson's is a little bit difficult to say because it's more rare. But with this kind of a brain chemistry, it's definitely very interesting. It's definitely very interesting. It's possible that this person has ADHD. I'm going to say it right now. I don't have a polygenic risk score for ADHD, but if I did, they would probably. And if I did, and I included these variations right here, and this as well. Well, actually, not this because this is kind of the opposite of ADHD. But if I included the DRD2 variations as a part of risk score for ADHD, they would probably score quite high for the ADHD score. He's got GG in this version of DRD2 once again, which is typical for most humans and leads to a lower risk of schizophrenia and nicotine dependence. Once again, this is a genotype that lowers the number of dopamine D2 receptors in the brain. So it looks like he's got all these genotypes that lower the amount of dopamine D2 receptors in the brain. Very, very interesting. Okay, we're gonna skip these. I don't really know how to interpret them. I don't know much about them. For mental health results, autism, we're gonna skip. For DDC, we're gonna skip. For lactose persistence, it looks like he does not carry the European lactose persistence mutation. If you took an ancestry test, they would say, hey, you're lactose intolerant. For OXTR and the empathy gene, it looks like he's got this gene that which leads to decreased OXTR expression and lower levels of empathy, as well as higher risk of autism. So definitely not so much of an empath. For diabetes, it looks like he's got some genotypes that lower the risk of type 2 diabetes, which is really good to see. All right. And this genotype lowers the odds of type 1 diabetes. For hemochromatosis, this is very, very interesting. So he's got GG in H63A, excuse me, H63D. And that's very unfortunate because he's got 2 copies of the H63D variant and likely suffers from hemochromatosis. Very, very interesting. Kind of surprising as well because the hemochromatosis risk alleles are most common in Northwest Europe. And Caucasus is quite close to Northwest Europe on a global scale, but still just a little bit unexpected. Although I have the same genotype here, and I'm also not anywhere remotely Northwest European. Okay, so for Alzheimer's, it looks like he doesn't have any genotypes in the APOE gene, which is very unfortunate because we don't have much data to go off here. But he's got CC here, which leads to increased risk of Alzheimer's, and that was probably the biggest contribution to him scoring 1.7 times the average odds of Alzheimer's. For multiple sclerosis, it looks like he does not have any risk variance in HLA, which is really good to see. For cardiovascular disease panel, I don't think I want to talk about any of this. Okay, myopia, I don't want to talk about this either. Miscellaneous section, alright, so he doesn't have micropenis, really good to see. He likely has photic sneeze reflex, which is really interesting. In case you don't know what that is, it's when you look at the sun and that makes you sneeze. Like looking at the sun makes you sneeze. It's a reflex that some people have. It's very European as well. 2 variants for increased pain sensitivity in SCN9A, which is very interesting. This is a very extremely South Asian genotype to have, so he's probably got a little bit of an increased pain sensitivity. And he's got CC in this variation of EDAR. Very, very interesting. So he likely has some East Asian facial traits, and he most likely doesn't have European ethnic background. So he's got this genotype in EDAR, and because of that, he likely has some East Asian facial traits. You know what? Hold on. I think this explains the. I think I just understood why this why his noshacot score is like this, where it's like white plus Asian, like this or this or this. Yeah. Now I understand why that is. It's because he's got East Asian genotypes in EDAR, and that's a big contribution um to the eye shape predictor. Yeah. So mystery solved. He's got East Asian genotype in EDAR, and because of that, he's scoring this with noshacot. All right. And yes, actually, I incorporated my eye shape predictor and my nose shape predictor into the trait predictors version of noshacot. So it's actually a part of a part of the code that's used to generate the pictures. All right. No risk evidence for familiar Mediterranean fever. For cancers, nothing relevant was found. All right. He's got this genotype here, which leads to increased risk of acute lymphoblastic leukemia. Very unfortunate, but it's only one genotype. Not that big of a deal. We're going to skip allergies. This is nothing here. For Crohn's, looks like no relevant risk variance. All right. For Canavan syndrome, looks like nothing was found. HIV and AIDS, looks like nothing was found. Muscular dystrophy looks like nothing was found once again, so there's not much to talk about. Color blindness panel, nothing was found at all. I mean, there's just so much stuff in this file that's just completely absent, completely missing. For FTO fat gene panel, it looks like he's got no risk variance for obesity in FTO. All right. And for syncope panel, it looks like he's got slightly increased risk of syncope, but that's because he's got this one genotype which increases the odds of syncope, so it's not that big of a deal. And for the bio traits panel, let me zoom in. Can I zoom in? Yeah. Let's zoom in. Okay, so he's got this genotype which leads to lower predisposition to anger, and he's got this genotype which leads to shorter telomere length and lifespan. So a little bit of a shorter lifespan. Well, thanks for watching this video until the very end. Leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed it. You can download this file in 23andMe format from link which is in the description of the video. And of course, leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed my content. Goodbye.